Good evening, everyone. I'm Carin, and can we just give another round of applause to TH and to Kelly for putting on this fabulous event. This is great. I've never been here before, so this is fabulous. And this is my first Women for Women event, so I want to thank TH for inviting me to this. I am honored, I am deeply flattered to be in the presence of all of you, so thank you. I was surprised when TH asked me to speak because we had never met in person. My first thought was, what am I going to talk about? And I speak about insurance all day, every day. And I said, I don't think that's the direction they want me to go here. So TH and I were discussing what it was that I was going to speak about. And I shared with her one of my goals, and that was to do a TED Talk. And her response was, ooh, talk about that. But I had never done a TED Talk, so I didn't think that that would work. So when I was planning to come here, I decided, I wanted to share a story that would be impactful and resonate. And I hope that after I'm finished speaking that some of you, all of you, walk away with something that you didn't know before you came in the room. So I hope this resonates with you or we connect at some level. So I decided that I would do some research on what permission to pivot means. And I think tonight with this fabulous panel up here, you're going to learn a lot of, or hear a lot of different perspectives on what that means. But for me, permission to pivot, there were three things that stood out to me. One was embracing change. The other one was, I can't remember. Oh, overcoming mental blocks. And the third one was acknowledging that we have the power to adjust our paths when necessary. So I'm shy. I was always shy. I was a shy kid. I grew up into a shy young adult. And I don't like to be in the limelight. I don't like people to pay attention to me. You can call it social anxiety. I don't like to speak to groups.
This is perfect.
Did I mention that I want to do a TED Talk? When I decided that I wanted to do a TED Talk, it was about 5 years ago, and a colleague of mine gave me a book on doing TED Talks. I haven't finished reading the book yet. So let's go back to me being shy. I didn't want to speak in front of a group. I didn't speak in high school in class. I didn't speak in college. I didn't speak at my early jobs. And I remember I was working at my first job in New York City. And I went to an appointment with my boss, and we were walking back to our office. And he turned to me and he said, you can speak at these meetings. He didn't know I could not speak at these meetings. I was terrified. And it was just very difficult for me. And I was in sales, by the way. I mean, that is really funny. But I was afraid that I was going to say something and people were going to judge me. It wasn't going to be good enough. My ideas would be turned down. It wouldn't resonate. Or, people just wouldn't listen. And by the way, this ties into a lot of imposter syndrome, which I will talk about in a minute. So, at times this would be paralyzing, but I wanted to find a way to conquer this. Fast forward, I'm managing teams of people in my day job for almost 12 years. And I'm still struggling with this, but I'm challenging myself. So I am taking every opportunity that my PR firm sends my way. Where's Jackie? I can't find her. Television interviews, radio, hosting webinars. But a lot of this was one-on-one, and it was virtual. So I was safe behind the lens of a Zoom or a Teams meeting. So in 2022, my boss promoted me to assistant vice president of my market. And at that time, he hired an executive coach whom I worked with one-on-one for a year. Shortly after I was working with him, he sent me a book because he thought it would resonate with me. He said something like, I feel like you have something in common with the author. I start reading the book and saying, why is this so familiar? Have I heard this person talk before? And then I realized I saw this woman's TED Talk. So what my coach had said, and he didn't realize, was how much I related to the author of this book. And I didn't even remember it because she and I had both suffered a severe head injury, fracturing our skulls at around the same time period in our young lives. I finished the book. I redline it, I dog ear it, I highlight it, I beat the hell out of that book. But I put the principles that I learned from that book into practice. And this book it's part professional development, it's part self-help, but it changed my life. And the reasons it changed my life were, it let me know that I was not alone and that I could overcome these challenges. So I noticed the changes. I felt the changes. I was evolving. It felt great. And some of you may be saying, well, what is the book? So I'll tell you what the book is. It's Presence by Amy Cuddy. And if you haven't seen her TED Talk, I highly recommend it. She's amazing. Yeah. I would have never imagined I'd be standing here talking to a group of people about how amazing this book is, but it is. And one of the many things that she talks about in this book is imposter syndrome and how it impacts so many of us. And for those of you who don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's believing that you are not capable and the fear of being found out. And for those of us who suffer with it, it's agonizing, you second guess, you fixate on how others are judging you. And it steals our power and it suffocates our presence. And what that book taught me is presence is the way to overcome imposter syndrome and the things that hold us back. Presence is believing in ourselves and it's trusting ourselves. Presence is shedding whatever it is, getting rid of whatever it is that is keeping you from expressing who you are, but it's also tricking yourself into accepting that you are capable. Sometimes you have to get out of the way of yourself so that you can be yourself. So it's the end of 2023, a year after I'd been promoted, and my company is getting ready to do their end of the year town hall meeting where we all come together at the Marriott. There's 300 people at my company. We discuss the successes of the year. And sadly, my boss had passed away. He usually would present at this meeting, but one of his other managers was tasked with doing that. A week before the meeting, she has a family emergency. So I wake up on a Monday morning, the meeting's on Friday morning. I wake up on Monday morning and I have an email from my CEO saying, I would like you to present on behalf of the sales division to 300 people. It's Monday morning, the meeting is Friday. And my CEO is going to be sitting front and center, watching with expectations. There were 20 minutes worth of slides, sales results, and talking points to present. So I'm faced with this email, and I say, this is mine to present. So I don't say no, I run at it, and I run with it. I take the slides, I take the talking points, the notes, and I revamp them and I make them mine. And I said to myself, this is your chance to shine, and I don't care how scared you are, you cannot miss this opportunity. I practiced for 4 days. That was my entire life, from Monday morning to Thursday night. I did nothing but prepare and practice on my drive to work, on my drive home, in the shower. I was probably speaking in my sleep, but I prepared. Friday morning, I showed up at the meeting early to greet all of my colleagues, just to quell my anxiety. And when they called me up on stage, I went up, I took the microphone. I didn't stand behind the podium. I stood as far away from it as possible. And I took a deep breath, I commanded the stage, and I did something I had never done in my life. I made myself present. And I wasn't small. I took my time, and I connected, and I wasn't powerless. And then something happened that was very surprising. I didn't want to get off the stage. And that's because I was present. I was having so much fun. I was loving every second of it. So finally, when I finished, to the applause, I'm walking off stage, I look at my CEO, and he gives me a thumbs up. And for 2 months after that, my colleagues were emailing me and stopping me in the hallways of our office, telling me how much they connected with me at that presentation. So I have to thank my boss, may he rest in peace, and my coach for guiding me and supporting me and believing in me and getting me to that point that I had been waiting for my whole life to happen. But I also have to thank Amy Cuddy for that book, because she helped me rise to the occasion, to be ready for the challenge. She helped me feel and act more courageous and bold. And she helped me realize that I could step out of the way of my fears and anxiety and not feel powerless. If we're more present, eventually, over time, we get to where we want to be, even if we didn't know where that was when we first started. Another thing that I learned from that book was that once you stop making yourself feel small, you become so much larger and better than you could ever think. And the last thing that she said was, focus less on the impression you make on others and more on the impression that you make on yourself. So I'm going to close with, surround yourself with people that are in your corner and support your goals. Listen to and follow people that know more than you, because there's plenty out there and you can find them. And be prepared, because you're going to want to jump at that opportunity when it presents itself. So thank you. I appreciate your time, and that's my permission to put it.